Check yourself.
All right. So here's the dealio.
All right, anything specific you want to go over?
Yeah. Well, first, Lieutenant, can you say your name?
Yes, Warren, W-A-R-R-E-N, last name Fair, F-A-I-R.
Okay, Lieutenant with the U.S. Coast Guard.
I am. I'm a lieutenant with MSU Marine Safety Unit Savannah, Chief of Response.
All right, let's go over the time frame. Tell us exactly, when you guys got the call and kind of what happened out there.
But approximately 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock last night, Station Tybee was notified that the motor vessel Escapade had run aground offshore. They notified Sector Charleston, and Sector Charleston then started the investigation and the process for salvage operations, or how can we refloat the vessel. We looked for high tide, which was at about 12 o'clock today, was high tide. We tried salvage operations. At that point in time, that was the priority. Transfer of personnel at that time was not the priority, because the sea state and the weather conditions were not conducive to that option. If we could have floated the vessel and gotten it off easily, that would provide less stress to the passengers on the vessel without having to do a personnel transfer. However, that proved to be, it didn't work out. It was unsuccessful. So we've shifted our focus now to transferring the personnel. We're putting them on 4 Coast Guard boats. The 4 Coast Guard boats are going to take the personnel, the passengers, off of the Escapade, put them on the Maria Bray. The Maria Bray is going to get underway. It's going to come back here to Station Tybee. Once it gets here to Station Tybee, these 3 vans are going to shuttle them back to the embarkation.
Let me just, Lieutenant, can I see that? Flicker on me, I think it might be loose.
Friggin' that. Any of that?
Bring up a level there? Yeah.
Check 1, 2, 3.
Yep,
Can you hear me?
Yep. Here we go. Let's try that now. Lieutenant, when you say you guys tried to get the ship, unstuck, what exactly did you guys try and do?
Well, the Escapade has hired a salvage company that's trying to do salvage operations. We're just monitoring it. I believe they tried to pull it, try to tow it off. They also tried to push it off, but I wasn't on scene, so I don't necessarily know why it was unsuccessful. I just know that the moving the vessel off the sand was not successful at the time. So they're going to reconvene that idea at 1:24 in the morning tonight, or first thing in the morning, to try to do salvage operations. But right now, the priority is the safety of the passengers, getting them off and getting them back home comfortable.
What concern in terms of, there's got to be a lot of fuel in that tanker or that ship out there?
Yeah, the last estimate that I got, there was about 3,500 gallons of fuel on the vessel. At this point, it's always a consideration. It's not a concern. We know it's there. There is no compromise to the hull of the vessel at this time. There's no threat that we are going to have a pollution incident, but we are prepared to handle that if that should arise.
If this isn't successful this morning, any idea what happens then?
I don't know. Those assessments are going to be made by the on-scene personnel that are there looking at the salvage plans, that are setting up the salvage plans. Sector Charleston, MS Marine Safety Unit Savannah, they're talking together with the contractor to look at the salvage plans to make sure that we take every possible means necessary to salvage the vessel. But we'll have to cross that bridge once we get to it at 01:24 in the morning. If it doesn't work, then we'll look at the next option.
In terms of any violations or whatnot that this company could be facing?
Don't know any of that at this time. The accident is under investigation. It is that. It's an accident. You know, these things happen. However, once the Coast Guard investigator goes on and does a complete investigation, we'll get more information as to why and how it happened, and then those determinations will be made later, but I can't speak to any violations at this time.
What about the passengers when you were pulling them off? There's a lot of elderly people. I can't imagine it was an easy operation this afternoon.
That's ongoing right now. I commend the boat crews that are out there right now. They're operating in a very tight, confined operation. We're losing water as we speak. You know, the tide is just that. It's fluid. It's up and down. So they're working as fast but as safe as possible. They've been working around the clock. Some of the crews have been on, you know, since 1 o'clock, and you know, work-rest ratio, we're looking at all that. But those guys have been working very hard. No injuries to the crew right now. At the last estimate that I got, we already had 60 of the passengers off the boat on the Maria Bray. Maria Bray can hold 175 passengers. So the Maria Bray is going to stay there. Once we get all the passengers off, it's going to make one transit in to keep these passengers as comfortable as possible. You know, they've been through a bit of an experience, but at this time it seems like it's a very well-run operation, and nobody's been jeopardized.
Did anyone have to, I know aircrafts were flying around, did anyone have to get taken out that way?
No, nobody's, to my knowledge, nobody has been lifted with an aircraft yet. However, if we do get into a situation where, you know, somebody is elderly that cannot traverse the ladder or the means that we have situated, we are prepared, and we're staging aircraft that if we do have to lift them off with a helo, we can.
From your personal experience, is this something that is common that you guys have had to deal with, that you've had to deal with, or is this kind of rare, this situation?
You know, vessel groundings, I would like to say, are rare. I mean, they don't happen a lot, but they are just that. They're accidents, you know. They do happen, and when they do, that's why we have investigators to go investigate as to why they happened and what happened, and then, you know, we go from that. But right now, we don't even know what the cause of the situation is. So once that investigation is run to completion, then we'll have a better understanding.
So that way I can explain it. What, in layman's terms, what's the situation with the ship? Is it stuck deep in rock? Is it mud? You know, why can't it move?
From everything that I've seen thus far, it's almost like it's sitting on a sandbar. So it's not necessarily run into anything. It's almost as if it just settled on a sandbar, ran out of water underneath it, and right now that's why we have to wait for high tide so we can get enough water under it to start lifting it back up and then pull it off.
Now, you're still investigating the situation, but how, you know, another vessel, I mean, is it you have to know where these things are to avoid the sandbars and these types of situations?
Yeah, well, you know, there's charts, there's navigational charts that have different things labeled on them. Where's the best navigation point? And some of those things are labeled. I'm not aware of what chart, you know, the vessel was using at this time, and again, all that stuff is being looked at, and all that will be considered in the investigation. But you know, navigational charts do facilitate vessel movements in and out of port.
Lastly, these people that are on there, were they able to get any food or water?
Yep. It's the last thing I was briefed on, that the Escapade is feeding the crew, giving them water. Nobody's in jeopardy of not having enough water or any food right now. So as far as those creature comforts are considered, everybody's being taken care of. Of course, you know, they didn't anticipate to be out this long, but the crew of the Escapade is doing what they can to make everybody comfortable while we do this transfer.
Thanks, Lieutenant. That's all I need. Thank
Welcome.
you.
Talk to me again. Yeah.
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 Mm-hmm. Uh-huh.
Okay. We don't know anything about that map.
Nick test 1 2 3. Nick test 1 2 3. Nick test 1 2 3. Yep. Allison's trying to call Fu. I'm on his phone because mine is about to die. If anyone can hear me. Allison is trying to call Fu. I'm on Fu's phone because mine is about to die. Okay. How much time? Okay. So, let me get you the microphone. And we'll
Okay, that's what I'm getting at. Okay, thanks. And we are on the air with breaking news that we first broke online at WJCL.com. More than 120 people were stuck in a casino boat off the coast of Tybee for more than 12 hours. Good evening, I'm Kevin Holmes.
And I'm Jennifer Andrews. 96 passengers, 27 crew members were on that 174-foot-long Escapade. Well, it happened about 1.5 miles off the Tybee shore. There you can see it. The vessel ran aground about midnight. Well, the passengers are coming onto the dock as we speak right now. So let's get right to Nick Notario with exactly what is happening and a first look of these passengers. Nick?
Well, it's been a long day for a lot of people. Almost 24 hours they've been aboard that ship, and finally, some of them, they're about to step on some soil, at least some dock, something solid here that's not
swaying back and forth. Everyone's okay. They were able to get everyone off. This first ship that you're probably seeing on your screens here, this is holding about 100 people. There's still going to be another ship coming a little bit later on with about 20 people on it. And it's a combination of both passengers and some of the crew members. So far, no one had to be medically evacuated. However, there were 4 people that they wanted to make them kind of use these ladders to climb up and down the ship, and they had to evacuate those people via helicopter, which is going to be happening either now or has already happened. So here, let's just take you back. It happened at midnight. This ship kind of hit a sandbars. The Coast Guard doesn't know exactly what happened. They have 3 people out there investigating it right now. But the number one priority throughout the day was to get that ship moved. They thought once they could get it moved via high tide, which were happening around noon, and we were out there about noon, and you could see the tugboats trying to move this thing, and it just wasn't working. So after that happened, they decided to go into this rescue mission where they were trying to get people, and it's a mix of people. There are no children, but it's a mix of people, and there's some elderly people on there that had a hard time to climb it up and down the thing, up and down the Jacob's Ladder is what they call it. Now, I'm off to the left here, so you can't see me. They wouldn't allow our live truck inside the U.S. Coast Guard base here in Tybee Island, but you can see they're almost off the ship. They're on one of the Coast Guard ships there. We're just off to the left, right off. They've got a station here set up for when people get off. They can either get in one of these shuttles that'll take them back to their cars, or they've got a table set up with water, looks like a little cooling area, because the shuttles, there's not enough space to get everyone back to Bull River. So right now we're just awaiting people to come off. I'm sure, they're ready to get some water, cool down. But I was told that the ship crew were able to provide them with plenty of food and water, so they're trying to make them as comfortable as possible while they're waiting out there. This was the maiden voyage for Tradewinds Casino. This ship was trying to set sail since mid-June and had some issues and wasn't able to do so. The crew let us exclusively on board about a month ago to see what this thing looks like. It has a number of slot machines, card tables. There's 3 floors. The top having a DJ and restaurant, the middle card games, and then the bottom floor were mainly slot machines. And this is something that the company's been trying to bring to the area for a number of months, working with the county to get the correct permitting, and then it was getting a ship. Then they got the ship here. Then it was getting all the gambling equipment inside, redoing all the carpeting, and then they finally were able to set sail last night. And then it struck a barge, and it's still stuck out there. Now, the next effort, it's from getting that boat. The Coast Guard says around 1 o'clock this morning or at night, it's going to be high tide. And once again, they're going to try to kind of push it using those tugboats, either by a rope or actually, nudging the boat. So if that doesn't happen, they're going to have to come up with a new strategy to try and get this thing. But right now it's sitting there with 3,500 gallons of fuel in it. None of it, I want to add, is spilling into the water at all. Obviously, there is a concern when you have a vessel with that much fuel sitting out there, but it's still not leaking. And as I'm talking, we got this one ship here. I see the first passengers kind of coming off, handing off their life vests. Another ship is not too far in the distance. There's some people walking by. I'm going to walk over. They do look a little exhausted, wearing sunglasses, as you can imagine. We've been told that they probably will not do interviews for the first couple of people that are walking off the ship, but maybe we can find out how they're holding up. They're clutching some water. They look pretty exhausted. Hey, how are you folks doing? They're tired. Tired and very angry. Yep, they're willing to do interviews, but right now they're going to step aside. You got more people with water. They all look very, there's some smiles right there. So while there's some frustration, there's some people trying to make the best of it. They're walking past us right now. As I mentioned, they got this cooling station set up with some fresh water for these people, get them in the shade, maybe get them in some air conditioning. And there are some Tradewinds casino employees walking off with these people as well. So what you're probably seeing on your screen, you can see some of the passengers walking off the ship right now. Some of them holding hands. We've gotten a couple smiles, a couple greetings. We've got more people that are frustrated, just looking for some water and from some shade and air conditioning. There's about 100 people on the ship right here that's in front of us. They're going to load about 50 people into those shuttle vans, and then they're going to bring the rest of them. There's another boat that's coming in right now, which we've been told has about 20 people on it. So we're just going to stand out here. The first wave has kind of come through. No one's gotten on the shuttle boat. They're all looking for that water.
Nick, this is Jennifer. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Jennifer.
Okay. Nick, can you talk a little bit about this? I was reading a little bit from the Coast Guard, and they said that they got an initial report from a crew member that said that there was a malfunction of their chart plotter, which is part of the navigation system. Are you hearing anything about that?
I haven't. They said right now they don't want to speculate as to exactly maybe why this has happened. That's why they've got 3 investigators right now out on the ship that are going to be there at least until midnight, trying to piece together exactly what went wrong.
So will the passengers be checked out before they're shuttled back to their cars? And tell us, how many shuttles are there again, Nick?
I'm sorry. Can you repeat that one more time, Kevin? You're going in and out.
How many shuttles are out there, and will they be checked out before they hop on the shuttle, the passengers?
The shuttle, there are 3 Island Express shuttles that are out here. And like I said, it can fit about, they said, 50 passengers in there. So they've got 100 people on the first boat, and they're going to be loading them up right now.
Okay, Nick, I know you were on a boat out there earlier today. Can you kind of describe the scene when you saw this massive ship stuck? It's my understanding they were waiting for the tide to come in so they could try to rock it free. Then they tried with 3 different tow lines. Those evidently snapped. You may have covered part of this in your audio earlier, but it was breaking up on my end. So if you've already covered that,
sure.
Forgive me.
What happened, we were able to get out. Someone took us out on a boat, which was fantastic. And we didn't know exactly where this boat was. But we figured if we just come out of the Savannah River and come up Tybee, it should show up. I mean, it's a pretty large boat. It's 3 stories. Sure enough, as we came out into Tybee, there was this massive boat just kind of sitting there, and you could see where the sandbars was, because it was the water was much murkier than everything else. And the guy that we were with said, where we were in 12-foot water. I mean, we were in the middle of the ocean, kind of, but it was deceiving, and we couldn't get too close because that's how shallow the water was.
But the water was very choppy too, right?
It was rocky. I had a hard time. I mean, I got cold sweats trying to get some video. The ship kept rocking up and down, and that was another issue the Coast Guard said. They had a hard time getting people off the ship because the waves were so rough.
Okay, but did you say that there were no medical emergencies? I know they had aircraft out there to help with the evacuation at one point. Was that necessary? Did they need to utilize the aircraft?
I'm sorry. Repeat it one more time, Jennifer. There's other people talking, and I'm having a hard time hearing you.
Okay, and let me know if you need to go speak with them, if you get a chance to speak with any of the passengers. But I was asking, there was no need for medical evacuations or to utilize the aircraft that they brought in?
Great question. There was a need to utilize an aircraft for 4 people, not because there was any kind of medical emergency, but the people didn't feel comfortable taking that Jacob's ladder on and off. So instead of climbing up and down that situation, they flew them out. But everyone is okay. Everyone is okay, which is a great thing. All right, so I'm going to stay out here, and you guys might check back in, but more people are coming off the boat. So, we'll check back in. I'm not going anywhere. We're going to talk to these people and see how they're doing here.
All right, Nick, thanks so much. We want to check back in with Ashley Lincoln now. She talked with family members of the passengers right now as they waited for their loved ones to get back on the ground, and she joins us now live with an update. Ashley, what can you tell us?
Yeah, Kevin and Jennifer, I can tell you a lot of family members are very anxious to see their family come over this marina and make it back on dry land. Now, we talked to a couple of members that say some of their family members have medical conditions. They rely on a lot of medicine, but we're getting all that put together on what these past 12 plus hours have been for these family members. They've been in communications with their loved ones who are on this boat, and we actually found one family member who says he has some video of what was going on inside. We're going to try to get all of that for you all so we can have it for the 5 and the 6. And so we're going to continue to work on that. But for now, reporting in Wilmington Island, Ashley Lincoln for WJCL News.
All right, Ashley, thanks so much.
All right, so that's where we stand with the beached ship. The passenger is currently being offloaded. We have team coverage coming up tonight at 5 on our 90-minute newscast, and we have got every angle covered from the weather, the sandbars, the passengers, the care that's being provided. So be sure to tune back in at 5 o'clock. We'll have the very latest on all those issues.
Yeah, we'll see you in about 20 minutes. And of course, our coverage continues online as well at WJCL.com. We also have pictures. And if you have pictures of things on or around the boat, please send them to us at newsroom@WJCL.com. We'll see you back here at 5.